Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the Italian Supercoppa is finally here. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions on which team I think will win the 2025 Italian Supercoppa. Obviously, there are 4 games competing in this tournament that is being held in Saudi Arabia. The first side of the bracket in the semifinals will be Napoli against Milan, with the other side of the bracket being Bologna against Inter. And then whoever wins both of those sides of the bracket will be playing in a final match to see who is crowned the Supercoppa champion. If you're excited for these predictions and you've been enjoying all the prediction videos I've been releasing recently, remember to subscribe to the channel, as I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I can't do it without you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into these predictions. Starting off with the first semi-final match, we have Napoli against AC Milan, which is being played this Thursday. Honestly, this is a very tough match to predict. Obviously, as you all should know by now, I am a huge Napoli fan. I do support Napoli. I've been supporting them for many years now, and obviously I'm going to try and keep this as unbiased as possible. But me being a Napoli fan, I do think they should win this game. But at the same time, AC Milan have been absolutely incredible in the Serie A this season. They currently sit second place, only behind Inter Milan, and they sit 1 place above Napoli. Now, yes, they did drop points in the last game against Sassuolo, which ended in a 2-2 draw, which realistically AC Milan should have won. But if you look at Napoli, in the last 2 matches in all competitions, they lost 2-0 against Benfica in a very poor performance. And in the last match, they lost 1-0 against Udinese, and they were shit. Udinese realistically could have scored 2, 3, maybe even 4 goals. Napoli did not perform good at all in that game, and they really need to get back their form. Obviously, Antonio Conte is probably one of the best managers in history in terms of going to a team and getting them to win the title. We've seen it at Chelsea, we've seen it at many Serie A teams, we've seen it at Inter, we've seen it at Napoli now. He's been absolutely incredible in the league. But when it comes to knockout stage football, he's not good at playing tournament style football. Look at his resume in the Champions League. Horrible. Every single time he's in the Champions League, he gets knocked out in the group stages. Trash. Completely horrible. And in this competition with Antonio Conte, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it. Obviously, like I already mentioned, AC Milan have been fantastic this season in the Serie A. If you look at their attack with players like Rafael Leao and Christian Pulisic, they've been arguably some of the best attackers this season in the Serie A. And if you look at their midfield being led by Luka Modric, bro, this guy is 40 years old and he's running every single game. He is such an incredible midfielder. Obviously, if you look at his career, he's probably a top 5 midfielder in the history of this sport. But even at the old age of 40 years old, he's still doing it on the biggest stage. Now, in this match, AC Milan do have a couple injuries, and at the current moment, it does look like Rafael Leao will be missing this match, which is very good news, as he's been a very important player in AC Milan's team this season. But if you look at Napoli, they have so many injuries that they've been struggling with season, and mainly in the midfield. If you look at players like Anguissa, players like Billy Gilmore, players like Kevin De Bruyne, all very vital players for Napoli in that midfield department, and they are all currently injured. And even throughout the season, we've seen injuries to many other players like Spinazzola, like Buongiorno, like Lobotka. They've struggled with so many injuries this season, and it has definitely put a little dent on Napoli's title charge after winning the Scudetto last season. But I still think they are a very good team, and I hope they should be able to win this game. At the current moment, Lukaku is in doubt for this game. Obviously, for the last few months, he has been struggling with the injury, and now he is finally coming back. And I think that Lukaku is a very important player for this Napoli team. Obviously, he's a very successful striker throughout his career. We've seen him in other Serie A teams, like at Inter Milan, where he was absolutely fantastic. And at the current moment, yes, in some games, Højlund plays incredibly. We've seen him get a couple braces this season, and in some games, he suddenly performs good. But other than that, he hasn't done much this season. Majority of games played, we rely on goals from other players. Recently, it's been David Neres. Before him, it's been Anguissa, it's been McTominay, and we cannot rely on goals from wingers and midfielders when you have a striker that doesn't really do anything. That's the main problem with Napoli at the current moment, is their attack is not performing good enough, and defensively they don't look like the same team as last season. Buongiorno doesn't look as comfortable as he once did. Rahmani doesn't look too good. Beukema, yes, he was very good with Bologna, but at the current moment he is struggling a little bit with Napoli. With all this being said, I don't know what to predict. Honestly, this is going to be a very close game in my opinion. My head is telling me it could be AC Milan. My heart's telling me I have to go with Napoli. So you know what? I'm gonna go for Napoli. I'm gonna predict Napoli to win this game 2-1, and hopefully they will make it to the finals. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, we have Bologna against Inter Milan, which will be played this Friday. Honestly, this is a tough game. Inter Milan currently sit in first place in the Serie A, while Bologna, on the other hand, currently sit in 6th place. And they were potentially in a title charge, but after their last match where they lost 1-0 against Juve at home, they did not look good in that game. And yes, they have some very good players, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to put up a fight against Inter Milan. If you look at Inter Milan this season, obviously they haven't versed Bologna yet in the Serie A, and their first matchup will be played at the beginning of January. But in terms of their performances against other teams, they've been very good. Obviously, they currently sit first place in the Serie A, but against bigger oppositions, they always shy away. This season, whether it's against Juventus, against Napoli, against AC Milan, in the Champions League, against Atletico, and against Liverpool, they've lost all their biggest games this season. So against mid-table teams, against some of the lower level teams, they perform incredible, right? They'll score 3-4 goals, but against the top teams, it seems like they play much more defensive, and in terms of their attack, they seem to shy away in the biggest games, and that could be an issue for Inter Milan in this game against Bologna. Obviously, Bologna aren't a top team. They are a very good team in the Serie A. In the Europa League, we've seen them play pretty good in recent matches. In the last match, they got a very good 2-1 win against Celta Vigo, which did result in a very good comeback. But in this game against Inter Milan, it's definitely going to be very tough for Bologna. Now, I will say Bologna do have a pretty good attack. If you look at players like Orsolini, Ferguson, Cambiaghi, there are some very good players, and I think they can definitely compete with some of the players from Inter Milan. And even in the Bologna bench, we see players like Ciro Immobile, we see players like Berendeschi, we see players like Jonathan Rowe, who are some other very good attackers. Obviously, Inter Milan do have the better team in their defense, in their midfield, in their attack. They have some very strong players, right? They're definitely a top 5 team in the world. But so far, Christian Kivu, he's looked good with Inter Milan in the Serie A, but in the Champions League, they haven't really looked that good. So in terms of knockout style football, in terms of playing in a tournament, I'm not sure if Christian Kivu is the best manager. When on the other hand, Vincenzo Italiano is very good in knockout stage football. We've seen him many times with Fiorentina in the Conference League. The amount of times they've made it to the final and have failed to win is crazy. So for that reason, I actually think that Bologna have a better chance to make it to the final against Inter Milan. For some reason, I feel like this may be a very high scoring game, as I feel like Inter Milan may play some very attacking football, as they don't look at Bologna as one of the top teams in the world. But for that reason, I feel like Bologna may be able to punish Inter Milan. So I'm going to go with a crazy game, 3-2 win for Bologna. I'm going to look so stupid if the final ends up being a Milan derby, but hey, I never said I was the smartest football YouTuber. With that being said, if Napoli come up against Bologna in the final, in my opinion, Napoli are definitely the favorites. Obviously, like I already mentioned with Vincenzo Italiano, he's very good in knockout style football. But when it comes to the final stage, he always ends up bottling it. We've seen it multiple times in the Conference League, where Fiorentina play very good throughout the whole competition, but in the final match, they lose against West Ham. They lose against Olympiacos. They do not perform good. Now, with that being said, we have already seen this matchup in the Serie A this season. We saw Bologna come up against Napoli when Bologna had the home advantage, and they won 2-0. It was a very poor result for Napoli. And after that game, Napoli did go on a very good run of fixtures where they won multiple games. We saw them beat Inter Milan in that crazy match. But against Bologna, they did not perform good. In the attack, they were stagnant. Players like Højlund, Elmas, and Politano didn't perform good. But I think in recent matches, with that switch in the attacking formation, with players like Noah Lang playing on the left and David Neres playing on the right, I do think they definitely have a higher chance to hurt Bologna. Like I already mentioned, Lukumi, in my opinion, is such an annoying defender. And in that game against Napoli a bit over a month ago, he was incredible, right? He scored the goal and he was definitely the man of the match. But in this game, Napoli need to change up their lineup if they want to hurt Bologna's defense. But once again, in that matchup against Bologna a bit over a month ago, Napoli were the team that dominated possession. And Napoli in the Serie A dominate possession in most games they play. Even in the Champions League, they're very good at holding the ball. But what they're not good at is creating chances in the attack. And going back to that game against Bologna, they were very poor in the attack. They had 4 shots for the whole matches, 0.25 XG. They were horrible. If Lukaku is back for this game, Napoli will 100% win. In my opinion, if Lukaku is back for this tournament, Napoli should win. I think Napoli are definitely the favorites with Lukaku in the team. But with Højlund, I don't know if they're going to be able to score. I'm not sure. I think they can do it against AC Milan, but against Bologna, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it. I'm trying so hard not to be biased, but I just can't accept the fact that I think Bologna could maybe beat Napoli once again. I can't do it. I just can't say it. So for that reason, I'm going to predict Napoli to win the final 3-0. I don't care if Lukaku's here. I don't care if Højlund plays like shit. They're going to find goals somehow. So maybe this is a bad decision, but I'm going to predict that Napoli win the 2025 Supercoppa, beating Bologna 3-0 in the final match. I really, really hope I don't look like an idiot, but for some reason, I have a feeling I will. And that's the end of this video. Those were my predictions for the Supercoppa Italiana for 2025. And I think Napoli will be Supercoppa champions. Obviously, if you guys agree with my predictions, remember to leave a comment down below. But if you disagree with my predictions, which I think probably most people watching will, remember to leave your Supercoppa predictions down below, and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. And obviously, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.